town hall. I'm liking to call this one Uncomfortable Conversations with Our Black Leaders. We have some great conversation we're going to have today. We're going to have some very honest, raw conversation, but it is conversation that we need to have. We, as always, will have the chat room open for you to ask any questions. The three of our leaders on this in this town hall are very open, and we'll be happy to share anything that you want to ask them. For the most part, I'm pretty sure. So let me introduce them, and then after I do that, we'll have a brief video. It's about 1.5 minutes we want to share just to kind of put this conversation into context and get us in the right frame of mind before we begin. The first speaker that we have with us today is Kelly Marie Wofford. Kelly is, wave it to her, she's up there somewhere. You'll see her in a minute. Kelly is, first of all, Leadership Buffalo grad of 2017, and she is the Director of Community Relations at ECMC, Buffalo's largest Trauma One center. At ECMC, she integrates her diverse background to develop targeted outreach, meaningful corporate volunteering opportunities, and impactful public relation initiatives throughout Western New York. Kelly Marie fosters community partnerships across industries to better serve residents and neighborhoods surrounding ECMC. Kelly is also the founder of Front Seat Life, an organization dedicated to eliminating barriers to mental health and wellness. A survivor of childhood sexual abuse, chronic depression, and anxiety, as well as a lived suicide experiences, Kelly Marie uses her own life to educate and empower others. Kelly Marie also leads communication efforts and mental health advocacy in one of Buffalo's newest nonprofit organizations, the Buffalo Center for Health Equity. Welcome, Kelly. Thanks for being with us today. I mentioned also a good friend. Linwood Roberts. Linwood is a Leadership Buffalo class of 2015. He was born in Buffalo, New York, but he moved to New York City as a preteen. He's a former U.S. Marine who served honorably with high merit, earning an honorable discharge in 1996. Thank you for your service, Linwood.
Didn't have to say the year.
After working behind the scenes in the UB Office of Community Relations for a year, graduated in 2008, he decided to forego lucrative opportunities in the legal profession to help UB make positive difference in his hometown of Buffalo, New York. Linwood applied and was appointed as Neighborhood Outreach Coordinator, where he started representing UB externally with community members, established positive relationships, and communicated community concerns. Linwood created and manages several U-wide programs like the School Supply Drive and Holiday Adoptive Family, and worked to improve relationships with the Student Association to increase and coordinate involvement in off-campus projects. As the president of the University of Buffalo Minority Faculty and Staff Association, he works closely with colleagues across the university on a broad array of issues, promoting pride, unity, and support for faculty, staff, and students of color on campus. Welcome, Linwood.
Thank you.
And then we have with us Trina Burrus, LB graduate of 2014. She is a senior vice president at Northwest Bank. But before she joined Northwest, she was well established in banking by the time they hired her in 2017. As a key bank where she used to be, official once referred to her as the unofficial mayor of the Buffalo Niagara Medical Campus. For a span of 14 years, Trina became the familiar face as the manager of a branch on the medical campus that shifted from HSBC to First Niagara to Key Bank. Trina was a guiding force behind the Signature Northwest project, the opening of a new branch on Jefferson Avenue. She's also upbeat about another project, Coming Life down the street, a financial education center supported by Northwest that will serve area residents. As a Buffalo resident, lifelong resident of Buffalo, she's the mother of 3 all girls and grandmother of 3 as well. She has a passion for her community to see all thrive and succeed. Welcome, Trina. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to all of our panel. We really appreciate you giving us your time today. So John, if you want to play the video, and then we'll turn it over to, we'll start with Kelly. Thank you. That was wonderful, Trina. Thank you for sharing. So it's amazing how things like that do happen on a daily basis. Someone just put something in the chat room. If we could take a few moments to recognize Congressman John Lewis, who was buried today and fought for Voting Rights Act. That's from one of our class members of 1999. So let's just have a moment of silence for John Lewis. Thank you. He certainly was a wonderful man, and he changed a lot of things, but we still have a lot more to change. So I'm going to turn this over to Kelly. Kelly Wofford's going to share with you some of the experiences that she's gone through in her personal and professional life and still goes through as a very accomplished, educated woman. So Kelly, take it away.
Thank you, Al. Thank you for putting this together. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for what will be and should be uncomfortable but necessary conversation. When I look at the life of someone as great as the congressman, what I have gone through doesn't even pale in comparison. There is no comparison to the small things that I may go through daily, to the things that he went through in order for us all to be here having this conversation today, right? So I want to acknowledge that a lot has been done, but so much more needs to occur. And now that we're in this place where we're talking about racism and we're saying the word and what it means, and we are having these uncomfortable conversations, we have gotten to a point, I believe, where at least in the meetings that I've been in, Black folks are talking more and speaking up in ways that we have not done before. And so I will leave that there and leave that for you to kind of ponder in your comings and goings in the last few months and all of your Zoom meetings and non-personal phone conversations, if you've been experiencing the same thing that I have been. So I was born and raised right here in Buffalo, New York. And I like to share the overarching story of the life of Black Kelly, right? So my name is Kelly Marie Wofford. Like, that's the name I was born with, and I'm sticking to it. And the very first thing that I remember is people saying, "Oh, you don't look like what I expected," because they expected to meet a white Kelly Marie Wofford, right? So when I look at my life, when I look at the things that I've gone through and compare them to, I always compare everything to my white counterpart, Kelly. There's a Kelly Marie Wofford somewhere that is also 43, that also has a 25-year-old daughter and 2 sons. And, you know, we have very similar, near identical lives, right? That woman will live on average about 8 years longer than I will. That is not because of education, because this, you know, other Kelly has a master's degree. She, you know, has half a PhD. She works in healthcare. You know, our lives are near identical. The overarching difference is that she is white and I am Black. And because of that, her life will be extended almost 9 years more than mine. So that when I wake up every day, when I'm eating my vegetables, drinking my water, taking my vitamins, I'm figuring out what's on my agenda, I know that I am slated to live, on average, 9 years less than if I were born white Kelly Marie Wofford. That is the picture of being Black in America. So to wake up knowing that every day, in and of itself, is traumatizing. So I'm not going to mince words in that, right? Personally, my experience, the things that I've gone through as a professional, the need to always represent the race, right? I am always one of a few, usually the only African-American in the room, person of color, really, in the room. And so when you are always one of a few or the only one, you come to represent everything that is not there. And that weight of making sure that other folks are represented is heavy, right? So there are times that there are topics that I think are important that we need to cover. But because I'm the only brown person in the room, there are some other overarching things that we need to discuss because there's no one else there to bring that conversation to the table. And it is in part representation, but it's also because we live in a society where we don't talk about our history. We don't talk about our foundation. We don't talk about why we got here, how we got here, and what it's going to take for us to get out of this place. We very intentionally became a country where women make less than men and Black folks make less than white folks. So as a Black woman, I'm at the bottom of the bottom. I wake up to that every day. My education, my experience, my background pales in comparison when you look at earning potential to my white male counterpart. I wake up to that every day. We have these expectations growing up, and it's taught to us. You have to work harder. You have to be better. You have to do more. You have to stand out, but be respectful. Don't challenge authority, but make sure you speak your mind. But when you speak your mind, don't sound angry. Well, I don't have nothing to say then, right? It's how many things do you put on to an individual to have to carry to simply walk in a room, to simply sit at the table, to proudly say, I am Kelly Marie Wofford, and I'm a Black woman, I know you wasn't expecting me, right? We wear so many masks, and this is true of all people. You know, you're a mom, a husband, you know, a teacher, whatever, right? We wear all of these masks. But what I have found to be very specific to, I'll say Black women, because that is truly my area of expertise, is this need to switch, right? So my family, the two parts of the family, one side came from Hamlin Park, and the other side is very much Central Park. So Central Park is very much at the core of who I am. I certainly cannot bring her to the table at Erie County Medical Center, right? So if I know that we need to push an agenda forward, if I know that I'm here to represent a people, in addition to doing my job, I'm here to represent a people that don't have a voice, I have to be very careful and cautious and aware of which Kelly comes to the table. That is a weight that is heavy. So when you look at things like mental health and nutrition and fitness and all of those things that we look to do to better ourselves, I half the time don't have that to do, right? Because I am still processing what my day was like. I'm still processing the fight, the microaggression. So microaggressions being those little things that seem, you know, if you weren't paying attention, you'd miss it. But it's very much real for me. Hey, Kelly, oh, your hair's so beautiful. I am not here for anyone's pleasure but my own and God, I suppose. So there is no need for you to pet me and touch me as if I'm an animal, because that's how it comes off, right? So when we consider our places of privilege, and everyone has a place of privilege. When we are considering our places of privilege, we have to be aware and exercise compassion and wisdom. Wisdom being something that is gained, right? It's more than just reading, it's more than just talking. It is something that you exercise. It is something that you attain when dealing with people of color. I had a supervisor once, and after this, I think my time is up. I had a supervisor once, she's white, and she has her grandson is Black. And whenever I would be in the office, just the two of us, she'd, start using Ebonics and slang. Hey, girlfriend. I'm not your girlfriend. I am Kelly Marie Wofford, and I'm here to do a job, right? I feel like, look, this is going to be a Princess Bride reference that some people may get and others may not. So when we have to confront these things that other folks don't see, she would never speak like that when other people were in the room. So if I report that, I look like a liar because I work in an office with 4 people. I'm the only one that's ever seen this. She's only asked to touch my hair when it's just the 2 of us. She only uses, slang and demeaning and derogatory remarks when it's just the 2 of us. Yes, and I'm quite sure many people think she's amazing and awesome and kind and well-meaning and would do anything for anybody. She's racist. She's right. So we have to look past the need to excuse poor behavior. We need to look past the need to quantify racism as an emotion and a thing that bad people do. That it is somehow embedded in hatred. The foundations of it, yes. But the day-to-day practices of the 80 people on this call, not likely. But we all play a part. So I'll leave it there, and because I want us to be able to have some conversation and talk. Trina?
Kelly, before you go, somebody wanted a question from the audience. It's a quick question. They want to know, would welcome understanding what is the environment where you feel the most authentic you?
Now it's home, but for many years it wasn't home. When I came home, I had to be mom and wife. So I couldn't come home and cry. I couldn't come home and rest. I still had to put on that mask, right? But for me, it took me losing my life. It took me saying goodbye to everything, to be able to claim who I am, to be able to be comfortable in my skin, to come home and be me, right? And whether that is, I feel like wearing, a t-shirt and a tank top and boots, or a pretty dress, or I want to flat iron my hair or not comb it at all, like whoever I feel like being, again, all of it is authentically me. Home is that place for me.
Thank you.
We should be free to be authentic no matter where we are. We should be free to be ourselves no matter where we are. Exactly. And that, even though we're talking about racism, all of the other isms, we have to also address. Because we should all, no matter who we are, no matter where we come from, be comfortable in coming to the table as us. Yeah, you're right. I'm so right. Thank you, Kelly, and thank you for being such honesty and sharing your stories and who you are. So we're going to save questions, folks, until the end, because I want to make sure that we hear from both Trina and Linwood. They have a lot of powerful messages to share. So wait to put things up in the chat room for a little bit so we don't get too many in the chat room. All right, Trina, you're up.
All right. So everybody heard Althea read my bio, and Althea, I appreciate you digging some of that stuff out of the archive. But I just want to start with saying that, as Althea mentioned, I'm a bank executive and I've had a fairly decent banking career. I'm the wife of a U.S. Marine, proud mother of 3 daughters, proud grandmother of 3. I have a master's degree. I think I'm a good person. I'm a good daughter. I'm a good sister to my little sister. And I will say to you that, but when I walk into certain rooms, what folks see is just what you saw in that video. Someone not sure what to expect. Maybe they think lesser of me. And these are all things that are related to not any of the pedigree that I'm proud of. Oh, and I should mention, Kelly, I too am from Central Park, go CP. Nobody sees those things. What they see first is the color of my skin and my gender. And I'll put out there, I'm proud to be Black. I wouldn't choose any other thing. I wouldn't get in any other line, but that is certainly the road of what someone might say is less traveled, right? Because it does have some unique challenges to it that others do not have based on the history in our country. I'll say that post George Floyd, a lot has been said about the talk that Black mothers and fathers have to have with our Black children in connection to how to interact with a police officer and get home safely, and just get home and we'll take care of everything after that. But what I would put forward is that not only is there that talk, but there's a second talk that as Black executives or leaders, we have to have with our children. And we have to talk to them about how to deal with the unconscious bias and other challenges that they're going to face in the workforce, which is contradictory to what we've been telling them all along, which is, you know, you can do and be anything you want. All you have to do is put forth an effort, and all this sort of stuff, all the rah-rah we've been giving them, all the way up until they will hopefully walk across that stage and get their college degrees. But then they walk into the workforce. And particularly if you're not in a place like in Atlanta where diversity is reverse, but you're in a place like Buffalo, where while yes, there are a lot of great things about the city of Buffalo that certainly make it the city of good neighbors, but we would be less than truthful if we would say that there's not some challenges if you're going to live in Buffalo and work in Buffalo, particularly if you're going to work in a professional setting. And what I want to share is a conversation that happened with one of my daughters, who shall remain nameless. But this daughter called me one day and I was on my way to a meeting. She said, "Mom, do you have time to talk?" I really didn't, but I could hear something in her voice that said to me, I better wait and see what she has going on. She goes on to explain this situation that she had at work, where a colleague of hers who was called by a nickname by every other person on the staff, but then the moment she referred to him by this, whatever this nickname was, he immediately corrected her and said that she needed to address him by his given name. So she called me very angry, frankly, and just trying to say, "Mom, how do I, like, what is this about? How do I respond?" And so right then, 5 minutes before a meeting that I was supposed to be in, I had to zip out of Bank Trina and get into CP Trina and have a conversation with my daughter that apparently I had not had. You know, I was hoping, I guess, that the experiences of my daughters would be different from some of the experiences that I had. But I had to take a moment and say to her, "Look, what you need to do is you need to send him a response that says, you will call him by his given when he starts referring to you as Miss or Mrs. fill in the blank. And when he starts to do that, then you'll start to do this." And there was, you know, a part of me that said, "Oh boy, did I tell her the right thing?" Because while it's the right thing, I'm not going to be there to defend the fallout. So I hang up the phone with her. I'm 10 minutes late for this meeting that I have to go into, and I didn't have time to recover. I was pissed that somebody would have the audacity to tell my daughter that that she has to somehow show them some kind of respect that this person did not think that she was due, because they were calling her by something other than Mrs. Burrus or Miss Burrus, right? So I walk into this meeting and it's too soon. I can't shake it off. I don't have any time to shake it off. And the folks in the meeting had to literally stop the meeting to say, "Trina, are you okay?" And I had to say, "No, absolutely not." And I explained to them what happened. And I said, you have to forgive me. I am going to be silent in this meeting until I can get my head together, because all I want to do is scream. And so I put that story out there to say that what came first, the chicken or the egg, right? Oftentimes, people of color are judged by a number of different things, right? You're judged by, is this person angry or unapproachable or difficult to work with? But the problem is that you don't know and can't know, because nobody's expecting you to know, right? You cannot know the challenges or the situations that we found ourselves in before we saw you. You don't know what happened to me at Tim Hortons in the morning. You don't know that a police officer that let me out in the traffic subsequently pulls me over in my overpriced truck, asks me, where am I going? I said, to work. He says, where? I said, whichever bank it was at that time. And he said, what are you, a teller? Well, I had started my career as a teller. The tellers are the most important people in the bank by far. So I wasn't insulted because of that. I was insulted because I'm wearing a $200 suit, driving a $60,000+ truck. What about me that you saw said to you, I must be a teller? And why is it relevant? Either give me a ticket or leave me alone, right? So that's at 8:15 in the morning. You just can't know what it is to be in our skin and what it is we've had to deal with before, again, we have seen you. And so what is it? What's the so what, now what? The now what is conversations like this, but there's also something that we all have to do in our day-to-day lives. We all have to commit to having diversity in our workplaces, to taking a minute to think about what the other person might be going through, as opposed to just painting everybody with a broad brush. And everybody has to do that. We all have the ability. You don't have to be an SVP of a bank to be able to affect that kind of change. Change in a culture and how we are as a people, that is reliant upon every one of us. And we have a unique moment right now where we're all sort of have this sense of awareness post George Floyd, and we cannot lose this moment. We have to use this as an opportunity to all get on the same page and be reading from the same book and be telling the same messages. I should not have to have a conversation with my daughters that everyone on this line does not have to have with theirs. And true success in this country, what really will make the country great, is when we all are able to do that, when we all can be honest about what's happening in this country and work to make sure that what my daughters feel is opportunity is the same as everyone else's.
Thank you, Trina. Thank you so much.
Linwood, I turn it to you.
You just said something about diversity in our workplaces, and along with, having diversity, not just checking a box and saying, okay, we've got X amount of Black or brown people. We have to make people feel included, that they're there because they deserve to be there, not because, oh, check a box. And I was talking to one of your team people that, said that, something always wondering, am I just a box they checked, or do they really want me to be here? And we need to make sure that people feel that. So thank you for sharing it.
Absolutely.
All right, Mr. Linwood, you're going to take it home.
You're muted.
Linwood, you're muted.
I can't mute myself. Althea did that. So thanks, Althea. Am I unmuted now?
Yep, you're good.
All right, great. So thank you for having me here. First of all, let me start by saying that I am unapologetically Black. I am proud of being a Black man. I'm from Cold Springs, Buffalo, and I represent it as much and as often as I can. I'm a Buffalo Public Schools product, and that comes along with a few different things. I feel that I'm unapologetically Black because the way I was raised by my mother, who was also the same. And I know the times are different now, but back then, we would walk down the street and hear things thrown at us overtly. So my mother was forced to have those conversations because I was there. So in a good way, she kind of brought me up in this so I can understand what was going on. But the bad thing about this whole situation is, or the thing that I had to adjust to without any manual, or without any instruction, is coming up on the Cold Springs. I was very smart academically, stood out academically, and I was pretty much a star in my family. Go to college, Marine, all those great things. It's really awesome. But then when you get into the real world, or you're thrown into the corporate America, that shine or that light is taken off of you, and you're just smacked in the face with, who is this guy? Why is he here? And automatically, by walking through the room, my normal characteristics are a threat. I'm 6'3". I'm dark skinned. I have dreads. I talk loud. I talk confident, and I don't back down. So those things right there are seen positively on our end, but in corporate America, it's a threat. And I can give you a lot of examples of what those are. And the reason I give these examples is not because I'm looking for any pity party or anything like that, but I think I need to let others understand that, number one, there's many facets to me. I'm from Cold Springs. I live in Cold Springs. Someone asked a question. I'm more comfortable in the hood, if you will. That's my comfort zone. I'm more comfortable. That's where I'm from, and I feel comfortable in that. But I can operate and excel in any environment. But with that being said, the examples I give is to let you know that no matter who you are, where you come from, where you are now, we still experience these things on a day-to-day basis, and we have to pick our battles every day. Which one am I going to fight? Am I going to address this issue? Am I not going to address this issue? If I don't address this issue, will I be considered this? Will it continue? I'll give you a couple of examples. I work at University of Buffalo. I've been there since 2007. Wow. And while being there, I can give you a lot of examples. I'm just going to give you ones that stand out the most, but I can give you an example every single day. Not just UB, but Buffalo in general. Every single day I can give you an example. But this one kind of stood out to me because it went against everything I stood for. I don't back down for anything or anyone, and that's not to mean that I'm a bully or anything like that, but I love a little verbal jousting with anyone. But this individual, you know, I like to say I like to have a battle of intellect with others, but if they're unarmed, you can't typically say that, right? So I was just having a battle of intellect with this individual who was unarmed, and he found himself in a battle that he couldn't win. So in the middle of it, he decided to stand up and start yelling at me. As a man, anyone that stands up and while you're sitting in a chair and a person stands above you, that's a threat, no matter where you are and where you're from. But I had to put in my mindset, okay, this is not the time to address what he's doing, because what happens is it's no longer about you yelling, it's what you're doing right now. It's not that topic. Whatever we got here, for me and where I'm from, once you do that, the initial discussion is over. Now we're going to deal with your actions. But now my hands are kind of handcuffed, lack of a better term. Because if I do be myself and address this as it should be addressed, and address it aggressively, because I'm taught if you don't nip something in the bud, it will grow to be a flower or a weed, better analogy. And when I said if I do that, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to be the big black guy. He's threatened. I'm a Marine. This guy can kill me, you know. So I decided to walk away. I said I'm going to leave this room before I can't leave this room. All right. So I gave a little subtle, let me let you know this could go bad. So I went downstairs, this 6'3", 200-something pound man, and called my wife. And I cried about 9 minutes of anger, just pure anger, outside. She told me, as a wife would do, you need to get this on the record. You need to tell somebody this. You can't just keep doing this. Okay, so I go to HR, and I explain to HR what happened. Oh, by the way, I videotaped. I recorded this whole conversation, right? Because that's what I do. So I recorded the conversation, and initially I never told the HR person I had the conversation recorded. I just told him what happened. He said, oh, you sure that happened? Oh, that guy's a nice guy. I know him personally. I'll reach out to him. So I left there saying, reach out to him. This is not going to work out well. Well, I got called into the office the next day by that supervisor. This is the supervisor who stood over me and said, oh, you called HR yesterday, I understand. Do you think anything's going to happen to me? So again, what am I going to do now in this conversation? I can't do much. It's not about the job. Right now it's about my ego. to be honest with you. It's about respect and then moving forward to carry on and work with this individual. And I'm not going to go too far, but I went to the dean. I went up every chain of command that I'm taught as a Marine to do, and it was never addressed, and the person still works there. What they did is said he can't be a supervisor no more. All right. Just in case people don't think that's a racial thing, I just recently took my daughter down to Brooklyn to go to NYU. Don't clap, just help with the tuition. I took her down and I drove down. Well, I drive down there all the time. I drive down constantly. I'll drive down this weekend most likely. And I drove down. We got pulled over on the way down. My daughter is 17, going on 18. We got pulled over and she's scared. So she's got her tape out, her videotape out. And I'm just like, honestly, I'm being strong because my daughter is there, but I'm scared as hell. Like, I'm scared as hell. All my stuff is legit. I got full coverage. I'm in good hands with Allstate. I got my registration. I got everything ready to go. And all I can do is look over to my daughter and say to myself, now, if she wasn't in there, I'm a little more belligerent. Like, what did you pull me over for? But she's there. I'm saying to myself, I honestly said to myself, you can't get shot in front of Sasha. What kind of shit is that to think? Like, I'm sorry. But that really crossed my mind. Like, whatever you do, just chill. You can't get shot in front of Sasha. Like, and that was a real thing. When it comes to the window, he's really a calm guy. Like, oh, he's cool. Hey, what's up, dude? I'm going the speed limit. I know I am because I got my daughter in the car. So I said, hey, why'd you pull me over? Well, you get your driver's license registration. Here's my driver's license. I'm reaching for my registration, sir. Oh, go ahead. What are you worried about? All right. Get the registration. He literally says, hey, is there any chance that there's anything wrong with your license? I said, sir, honestly, if I answered that right now, you're going to run it anyway. Why don't you just go do your job? I'll sit here patiently. I'm going to get to do what we got to do here. He comes back. All right, have a great day. I need some answers. I need a ticket, as I tell my wife. I need a ticket. You got to give me something. But again, this happened. I took her there, called my wife, cursed for half an hour, got her there, had a few drinks, turn around the next day, get pulled over twice. Twice. Is it my car? It's a nice car. It's an overpriced car, as Trina would say. I get pulled over for that. So I figured, you know what? Maybe they just want to see if I'm a drug dealer. Maybe they want to see if I'm a rap star. Some people say I'm like 2 Chainz. I don't know. But I say all this stuff to try and justify ignorance. And I think I'll get to the point now I'm tired of justifying ignorance. And it's not that I justify it, but you kind of pick your battles, and in the middle of picking those battles, you kind of accept certain things. And I think now in the current environment, it allowed us to no longer accept certain things, and it's a great feeling. At one point, when I used to go to certain meetings, you would have someone making very, very racist statements. And what the black individuals in the room would do was text each other and say, you believe this shit? You believe what he's saying, right? While we're looking around the room, and I'm saying to myself, I know 10 of these people are going to call me later and say, Linwood, that was messed up. Of the white people are going to contact me. But what I need you to do now is don't text me, don't call me, don't write a letter to me. You tell those people right there they screwed up. As a matter of fact, why don't you just follow me, because that's where I'm at right now. But since I did that, I'm not getting invited to too many meetings. Kudos out there. I can't be controlled. I don't think we should want to be controlled. But I do think it's very important to have these conversations, and I want to not have too much discussion or give too many examples, because I think in order to have a conversation, it's got to be dialogue back and forth. And what I would like to do is see some questions that we can answer for you. But more specifically, I would like to let you know that you can actually write Althea or Jenna or me directly in this chat box. You can do a private one, because I know a lot of people are not going to ask a question in the public forum because their name is attached there too. But if you ask me directly, I'll answer it directly, and I'll answer in the public forum, and I won't mention your name. So I'm going to stop there. Also, I'm an attorney. I don't know if you guys mentioned that. I'm an attorney. That was not mentioned in my introduction because I did not put it on there, but I am a black attorney, and I am currently working on a dream that I had, which is have the first black law firm in the city of Buffalo. So hopefully you can keep your eyes open for that and support that cause once it's good. That's my selfish plug of a business that's not even here yet.
I miss seeing you all the time, Linwood. Me and Linwood used to work together at UB and then being in Leadership Buffalo. But we do have a couple questions, but thank you for sharing that. And I'm just, we've heard about, the police pulling over our black brothers and sisters, and it's like, you guys just keep bringing it home because you're my friends. And it's like, it's terrible. Like we had this a couple weeks ago, the same thing. And it's it's got to stop. So I think some of the things that we need to know is what we should be doing, what we can do. But one of the questions in the chat room is, this is for all of you, because you all work at, significant places of employment. What is the percentage of different nationalities or, persons of black and brown skin that work in your places of business? So all three of you, one is at Northwest Bank, UB, which is huge employee, and ECMC has a lot of employees as well.
Can I please go first?
Yes. Oh.
Because I'm chomping at the bit, and this is not beat up UB, but UB is the second biggest employer in Western New York, and they're not doing it. All right, they got to step up. They have to step up. They write a lot of great posts. They have a lot of media presence, and it's not what it appears. I work there, and it's not. I tell people all the time, they're like, I got a job interview with UB. I'm like, oh my God. The issue is, first of all, let me ask you a question. I'm at UB. When I was at the Office of Community Relations, I was the only black. I was the only African American there. When I'm at the School of Dental Medicine now, I'm not counting the students. So you can still probably count it on one hand, not two, one hand. But what they do is they play with the definition of diversity. Diversity is international population. Diversity is gender and age. Diversity can be played with in many ways. And also what they do is, instead of giving you an actual hardcore accurate number, they give you a percentage, because a percentage looks better on paper than it does elsewhere. So I would say that's the case right now where we are, and it's not being addressed appropriately, because I'll say this and shut up. Many people are more concerned with the appearance of caring than actually caring.
And that then is the issue, right, Linwood? So our percentages are, I'm not gonna lie, we all know the answer to that question. So the true question is not just who is currently in the room or who's currently in the building, but what policies are these organizations implementing to make that change, right? So I can speak from ECMC's, perspective. Our board said, ECMC proper, you're not doing enough to hire Black folks. So ECMC had to, from the top, right? So that came from the top. You're not doing enough. So the organization had to follow suit. But just like higher education, it's not just about bringing people in the door. You can hire anybody, right? How do you keep people? So it's changing the culture. It's having hard conversations about racism. It's understanding that diversity is a cover-up for not addressing racism. Poverty is an issue of racism, right? So we have to be able to call things what they are. A lot of the issues that we are facing in Buffalo, New York State, United States of America is embedded in our foundation. A large part of that foundation is racism. When we look at what it means to be Black in leadership, and we have to have this representing the race mentality, Althea, you are not representing white women everywhere, right? You're Althea. You have the privilege of being you. Black folks don't have that privilege. We don't have the honor of stepping in and only being us, me. I am only Kelly Marie. But if I mess up, anybody else that they may consider hiring, they're like, nah, we brought one in. We can't do that no more, right? So it is changing the culture. It is changing this narrative that racism is an issue of hatred. It's an issue of practices. It's an issue of laws. It's an issue of policy, regardless of our feelings.
Well, thank you. That's a very good, that's a great way to put it. Because I think you're right. People look at racism as that I'm not a racist because it's a mean, angry thing, but we are, and we have to stop. Exactly. What about Trina? What about you in your workplace as far as the number of Black and brown folks?
So Northwest admittedly has a lot of opportunity in this area. Just yesterday, I was able to, along with an HR partner, present an inclusion plan to our CEO and other members of leadership. And, I was happy to report that, some of those things that we put forward are going to be adopted from the very highest level to try to compensate or to change our culture and what our current data looks like. And I would make a broader statement about banking overall. I always say that banking is an industry that's very unique from many others, that you can come in straight out of high school, no college degree, and rise to the highest ranks in the organization. It is one of those places where learning on the job is celebrated. And so if banking, particularly in Buffalo, given the number of people who are employed by the various banks, if we don't get it right, there's a problem, because it is one of those places, as I said, where you can everybody can start at the same spot. You can have a good job, decent salary, great benefits, including paying for you to go to school and all those sorts of things, right? But in order for any organization, regardless of if it's higher ed or the medical profession or banking, we've got to stop doing the usual things, right? So we've got to stop recruiting the way we always recruited if we're still getting the same thing. Either a population of employees that aren't diverse, or to Kelly's earlier point, you're lowering the bar or changing the standard just so you can check a box. And so you're making hiring mistakes that don't serve the greater ultimate good. You've got to partner with organizations like LB, with the young leaders, or Urban League, or Say Yes, or Buffalo Prep, or as organizations, private organizations who put in sponsorship and donation and philanthropic dollars. You've got to partner with Buffalo Public Schools and Buffalo State College. Nothing infuriates me more than to hear a member of the business community say they have a hard time hiring diverse candidates. Are you kidding me? Have you seen Buffalo Public Schools? Have you walked on Buff State's campus? Have you been to UB? The diversity is out there, but you have to make a true, I can't remember if it was Linwood or Kelly that said this, you have to make a genuine commitment to it. And it's not enough just to hire. You've got to have a culture that people feel included, because one of the things we're looking at Northwest is not only the number of minorities, true minorities, not some of the looser definitions of it, but true minorities, looking at how many we have, but also how long they stay, right? Because that really is at the heart of it. Do they feel like, and this is a word that gets used in banking a lot, do they feel like they fit, right? Fit is a buzzword for telling me that I don't look like or sound like or have the same experiences as everyone else on the team. But you've got to make a genuine commitment to that if that's really what you're striving to do. And again, it's not about making the numbers or the quotas or lowering standards. It's about being committed to filling the spot with the right candidate, with the right skills and the right abilities, who just happens to be Black, right? Or Hispanic, or whatever the goal is.
Not to take over this, jump on you, Trina. If you weren't finished, I apologize.
Yeah.
One of the bigger issues here that I know we're talking about this is the institutions themselves. I like to refer to things called the old guard and the new guard, right? So the new guard, the newer generation, are out here kicking butt, and I don't consider myself the new generation. The new generation.
True story, Linwood. Tell how you want.
Fighting for us. They're out there fighting for us. And our generation, or even older generation, right? There's another guard, the old guard, like to say. They're set in their ways. I've got to a point where I will tell my story as much as I can, but I'm not trying to change you or change your heart. Because I'm at a point where if I tell you something or I express to you how I'm feeling, and you decide that no matter what I express to you or how it makes another person feel, that you decide to go X this way and vote in November orange, as someone said before, I don't need to put myself around you, and I don't need to let you in my life, and I control who's around me, right? So what I'm starting to learn is the inclusive issue is a bigger issue that these institutions are looking at. They're like, okay, let's bring in as many diverse candidates, the true diverse candidates. Bring them in as much as we can. What you see and you want to see is a revolving door, because once they get there, they're alone. All those marketing and magazines and bulletins with all those people of color on there, they're models. They don't work there. So when you get there, the culture is not there. You're not comfortable, and we're getting out of it. No matter how much you pay them, you can't pay for them for their comfort. So they have to be really careful about removing the old guard, especially in a unionized environment that we live in Buffalo, which I know is difficult, but it's not my job to answer the difficult questions. I just ask them. And Buffalo is one of the most segregated cities in this nation. I grew up here, and I'm gonna tell you right now, going down Walden, Dairy Queen, I was told as a child, you do not cross this Dairy Queen. Anything happen you pass this, we can't protect you. You understand? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it doesn't mean you're privileged. It just means that, well, kind of it does, because you didn't have to worry about a street demarcation about your life. You send your kids out to play, you expect others to take care of your kids. It's a village that raised a child, not us. Once we got there, we knew our protection was over, and Chief Tawaga did not want us over there, so why go? I apologize.
So I have a question for Linwood. Thank you for sharing that. I have a question. This is for all three of you because you're all three Leadership Buffalo grads. This was sent to me privately. Leadership Buffalo takes people in the community to areas of poverty, and though they're sure the intent is good, which it is it really a good way to showcase our people?
No.
Right. So if not, how can we reposition the way we offer at Leadership Buffalo exposure to our inner city community? Because we believe that experiential learning really gets people, we don't tell them, we show them, and they wake up. But maybe we have to come up with a different way. So Kelly, you want to start with that?
Well, I think the organization is headed in the right direction, right? Because you recognize that you didn't have enough minorities in the class to even have open conversations about race, right? About privilege, about the Buffalo public school systems. If everybody is from Clarence, then the conversation isn't really going to be robust. So a part of that goes back to recruitment, right? Who is in the room? I don't believe that we should go on zoo tours is really, I don't know another way to say that, right? Black communities are not petting zoos. It's not, oh, look, that must be a crack house. Or, oh, this is a diamond in the rough. It's the only house that has siding, or, you know what I'm saying? So we have to change our understanding. We have to change our perspective and our lens. But a part of the work that Leadership Buffalo does is opening the eyes of people that have never seen, right? So if I've only known white people, we had that one black kid in high school, he was the quarterback of the football team and all the girls loved him, right? If that is my perspective, they're not ready for this conversation, right? So it is maybe a stair-step approach, but I agree, it is not the right way. I hate that Leadership Buffalo goes to the prison, but to the jail. I absolutely, Althea, to my core, it bothers me, because what you then see is this stereotypical situation where we're not talking about the preschool to prison pipeline. We're not talking about the Buffalo public school system. I went to City Honors, right? So that is a privilege of the education that I had, even though I am a Buffalo public school kid, right? But in that, I had an experience that other folks never had. So we cannot only look at one piece of this, right? We have to be able to talk about and explore the whole picture. And it honestly is difficult to do when you only meet once a month. So a lot of this requires people to do their own homework. All y'all can read, so go read a book, right? And if it doesn't make sense, then go read another book, right? Althea, Jenna, Melissa, Caitlin, the four of you cannot be responsible for teaching every white person what it means to be white in Western New York. This is personal accountability. So if you don't understand, go figure it out. And I'm using this language because we have to use this language. We have to. We can't tiptoe, we can't dance, and we don't have time collectively to take advantage of this time, this moment in history, if all we're doing is teaching people what racism is. You have to do that basic yourself.
Thank you. You know, so you do know I'm going to put you three on a committee. Trina's already on my board for Leadership Buffalo, and you do know the three of you are going to be on my committee to do some program redesign. So definitely want to hear.
I haven't spoken on this, so don't put me on yet. Real quick, yeah. I agree, right? Real quick, I went through it as well. But I do have an idea. So being on the community, great. But it's all about working with those community organizations within those communities and ask them. Let them be your partners to bring it through the community. Let them introduce you to. Let them be your guides because it's their community. So we're guests in those communities. So we have Leadership Buffalo. This is what we're doing. We like to meet with community members in certain areas and talk about what you have going on and how can Leadership Buffalo help you, and bringing in our class, how can this benefit you? They may tell you it can't. All right, next community or next idea. And real quickly, I was one that didn't like to go bike buffalo. Like, I was really mad about that because I perceived it as that as first, right? I didn't see it as anything but that as first. They would just come through the communities. I'm like, you guys never come through here for anything. Now you have a group of hundreds of bicycles. Now you feel safe enough to come through. That's where I was at. So it took me a little while to wrestle with that. And it's the same thing with Leadership Buffalo. I understand the exposure, and we need exposure, but there's a fine line of how you do that without being a zoo, for lack of a better term. But I'll be on that committee and help you decide that. I'll figure it out.
Thank you. So we do have to make this the last question because I think we should have made this town hall 2 hours, but maybe what I can do is invite you guys to come back again because I don't want this conversation to end, but just to leave the audience, this was a private message, just to leave the audience with some tips of what we can do to get better, to start to be better. What is some tips that you, and if you guys give me some shorter answers, let me find this here. Tools to how do we interrupt inequity or racial bias when we hear it or see it, particularly when it comes to confronting someone in a higher position than yourself. What are some of the ways that in which we can do that? Trina, you want to go first on that one?
I would have wanted you to ask Linwood first. But honestly, I think it goes down to a combination of things. You have to be educated to identify it yourself, and whether or not that means you read a book or you don't take what you hear or see in the news at face value, that you do some self-investigation so that you can be speaking and being an ally from a place of being informed. When the president says that the way to make the suburbs better is to prevent affordable housing developments from going there, you have to know that is not a dog whistle. He is openly saying poor people, who he believes are mostly people of color, diminish your property value. I'm a banker. I'm here to tell you there's a lot of other things that come well before that diminish your property value. But you've got to be able to say, when you're at work and your colleagues are talking about this, you have to be able to say, you know what, actually, I read this book called The Color of Law by Richard Rothstein, and it explained to me how segregation in housing began. And as it turns out, redlining isn't the bank. It started with the government. And so you have to be able to say it that way to encourage and increase curiosity. And that's how you can speak truth to power without getting into trouble. Me, Linwood, and Kelly, we've got some salt and pepper here. And so we're well, maybe not Linwood, you cut it off this morning, right? But, so we're coming from a place, or we're at a place now where we're a lot less afraid. 20-year-old Trina would not be on this call. You might not have asked me, but I certainly wouldn't have accepted. You have to be able to really say, you know what, no, it's this. It's this. And we got to call each other out on our stuff. Black and brown people have some accountability here too. We've talked a lot about the other way, but we've got accountability too. We got to all just get on the same page.
Thank you, Trina.
Absolutely.
Which one are you going to go next?
I don't know where to start, so I don't. That's a loaded question, and I got a lot of answers and examples and all this type of stuff. I think right now the best thing, and I've been on this whole listening tour. I think it's still time to listen. It's if you've just been screaming on the top of your lungs, imagine screaming at the top of your lungs on a rooftop. There's a fire. There's a fire. There's a fire, and everyone just keeps walking by, right? And you just keep screaming. You have no voice. You keep screaming. Then one day, someone dies across the street from this building that's on fire, and he died. His death was on TV, right? Now, all the attention, now they come to that death and look up and say, oh shit, it's a fire. Now everyone's going crazy for this fire. You're up on top of the roof saying, I've been telling you this shit. Like, I've been screaming, it's a fire. But now all the attention is to you, well, who's in there, isn't it? So it's hard for us to just flip a switch and say, okay, they're listening now. Everyone's listening now. Well, let me just take my time. And no, we still need time to vent. We still got a lot of things on our chest. We're still going through it. Just because this movement is going on, we are going through it, all right? Through it. And it's not just the corporate or the leaders, as they say, because I'm not a leader in my own house, because I don't know what this leader thing is. But we're going through it. People in the communities, they look at us. I come back, I'm a superstar in my community. So they're like, oh, Lynn here, because I didn't forget where I'm from. But I'm like, I go back, I'm like, I'm still Black. I'm still looked at just as this. I'm just looked at totally different to these people. So to me, the way to do it is open up your hearts and be a little more empathetic. Instead of judging something automatically based on its value, I'm not going to repeat reading and educating yourself. But also just, instead of saying, oh, that's BS, just open your mind up for a second and say, okay, this may be a possibility. Let me go further. Let me look further into this before I just automatically nix it. And the perfect example I can give you is, real quickly, I'm better at analogies, anybody knows me. So I was in the Marine Corps, and my first month, or my first deployment was in Iwakuni, Japan. And I went to see this guy. My master gunnery sergeant, last name was Noel. He was actually a Native American Indian. He's a minority, all right? This guy, I walk in, I met him not even 3 seconds. I shook his hand. He says, hey, you're tall. You be knowing how to play basketball? I was like, what the fuck? No. Like, I'm in the Marine Corps. He's above me. I can't punch him. I can't say nothing. I got to eat this. And then I just turned around. And I literally went to someone. So you know what he said to me? And I told him, they was like, oh, yeah, he racist. So again, someone needs to say something. Instead of keeping it as a secret, he's racist. Somebody needs to say, you're racist. You're racist. And by the way, I just got called the N-bomb on my way from getting coffee again. I know I told you ladies before I got called the N-bomb. Tim Hortons, the devil. I just got called the N-bomb and Tim Hortons again. And I know it's not their fault, but I can't go no more. It must be the doggone customer. So I'm letting you know, I had to leave there, right? And then go to my wife's OBGYN appointment, which we were not allowed in as fathers, but we were allowed in for the ultrasound. I come in, and I got to be like, oh, it's a... But I'm like, man, right? So I got a good mask on. I wear it well, but just understand it's a mask. And I'm a Gemini, so I'll never know what the hell's going to happen. But just understand that people you're talking to got a lot of baggage, just like you. But we got a little extra baggage, and I'm not trying to have a competition and who's going through it the most. But if it was one, never mind. Have a good night.
Thank you. Wow. And we're like 10 minutes past time. So Kelly, in a real quick answer, if you could, just give us some tips on how we can address it when we are experiencing it firsthand.
At home, Kelly is going to say, y'all don't have to show me something, right? I need to see something. Because like Linwood said, we've been here. We were born here. We know what this is. We've lived it. So I need more than your tears. I need more than your are you okays. I need more than you kneeling. I need more, I need more, I need more. You have to show me something, right? You have to prove that you are in this fight, not as a cheerleader on the side, but that you're ready to get your hands dirty. And that means you have to do the work. And this is not just a white thing, because Latinos can tell you, don't nobody want to be Black, right? Nope. The day that everyone can say, I wouldn't mind being African-American living in America, we've made some strides, right? but nobody wants to be Black. No one wants to associate with being Black unless it's the cool part, the fun part, right? So when we can have that internal conversation, I think, you know, I could live anywhere. I would be comfortable being Black. I think at that point we have really made some change. Now everyone should be comfortable however you were born, wherever you were born, whatever your culture, whatever shade of your skin, be happy and proud of who you are. So I don't want you to misunderstand that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, if someone said to you, would you like to be a Black person? Yeah, right? So until we can honestly say, yeah, America has made that much progress, then we still have more progress to make.
We sure do. We have a lot more too. And you know what, as we've said before, I think when the three of us talked beforehand, there's still so much work to be done, but I have hope because I think we're fighting with you. We don't expect you to fix this yourselves anymore. As Kelly, you put it, when you have an abuser, you don't expect the person who got abused to fix the abuser. So we are all in this together. We're with you. We stand with you. I'm fighting for you. I'm fighting with you. And I just thank you so much for your honesty. I think we might want to bring you guys back again because I think this conversation could have gone on for another 2 hours. But definitely we'll keep this conversation going. Keep getting better people, keep learning, reading, talking, just keep this going. Do not let this die out. I don't want to see just, oh yeah, we're done with that and we move on to something else. So please, you know, look at our website, check. We're not going to be doing a town hall next week, but we do have another one scheduled on how to have difficult conversations with people who conflict with you. So we're having that, and then we're going to schedule a few more. We have our racial literacy trainings happening monthly. The next one's in September. So please check our website. We're very committed to this work and committed to affecting positive change. So you all have a wonderful day. Thank you, Linwood. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Trina. And I must tell you that Trina's number 66 on the most powerful women in Western New York. So way to go, Trina.
Black Lives Matter.
Black Lives Matter. Absolutely. Love you guys. Thank you.